Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be bringing you guys my final Washington Commanders 2022 NFL mock draft. It'll be a 7-round mock draft, and I'll be breaking down all the scenarios in the first round and in the later rounds as well. So make sure you guys stick around to the end. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 7,500 subscribers. So please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. And go ahead and follow the Twitter link in the description. Now let's get right into the video. And just a quick reminder, I will be streaming the first round of the 2022 NFL Draft with my guy Juan from Juan Gotti Talkin' Sports. Should be really fun tomorrow, 8 p.m. Make sure you guys come through to that. So, and in this mock draft, I'm going to be doing what I think the Washington Commanders will do and not what I think they should do. You know, usually my first few mock drafts are what I think they should do, but then I start going more and more into what I think they will do. And this one will be solely that, what I think they do. So don't necessarily flame me for all these picks. So here in the first round, this is one of the toughest picks to make just because, you know, prior years we kind of know somewhat how the board is going to look like where we're picking. But this year, we really have no idea. I mean, there's so many different combinations of guys that could go in the top 11. What I'm thinking right now, I'm thinking it's really between 3 players for that number 11 spot. Kyle Hamilton, Drake London, and then probably Chris Olave, because I think Garrett Wilson is going to be gone by 11. I think that is, very high % chance of happening. So I think it's between those 3. Maybe you can throw in Jameson Williams as well. There's been some smoke for, Jameson Williams to the Washington Commanders the last, week or so. So that's definitely a possibility. Just depends on how they feel about the medical. So what I think is that their top receiver is Drake London, and if he's there, I think they will take him. But in this mock draft, he's gone. So if he's not there, I think it'll probably be safety Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame, or maybe one of the other 2 receivers. But I'm going to go ahead and take Kyle Hamilton. And again, this is just a very tough mock draft to do because it's tough to predict what's going to happen and what's going to happen before them. But I'm going to go ahead and take Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame, because I think if he's here, I think that they will take him. And there's been some talk about him slipping out of the top 10 to maybe even 15. 6'4", 220 pounds. Very, very high character guy this past year. Had 3 interceptions, but missed a lot of the season because of a knee injury. Before that, had 1 interception in 2020 and 4 interceptions in 2019. Very, very versatile player. Can play all over the field. Can play free safety. I know some people think he can't, but I think he can at the next level. Can play strong safety at a very high level. Can play will linebacker. Can play buffalo nickel. Amazing tackler, especially in the open field. He doesn't have great speed, but he's not as slow as his 40 time is. 4.59 is kind of what I think he is. He's not as slow as his pro day 40, which I think was a 4.6, 4.7 40-yard dash. His instincts are great. His play recognition is also great. He has great hands. I mean, he's usually in the right position to make these interceptions. He's a big hitter, pretty strong. I mean, he's got a lot of the traits, just doesn't have that elite speed that you want. But I think he has these other traits that make up for it, and I think he can be a great player at the next level. And it's hard to pass up great talent like Kyle Hamilton, and you can still take a very good receiver in the second round. I will be fine with any combination of, let's say, Kyle Hamilton and a second round receiver, or one of the, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, or Jameson Williams, and then, a second round safety like Jaquan Brisker, Petrie, if somehow Daxton Hill falls there, which he won't. Any of those combinations would make me really, really happy because, I mean, you're filling 2, big needs there. Free safety isn't a big need, but I definitely think it is a need, and, you can fill that hole with someone like Jalen Petrie, who can play all over the place, Jaquan Brisker, but I think Kyle Hamilton can fill that hole as well and also help you in different aspects. So yeah, that is going to be the pick at 11 for the Washington Commanders. Now onto the second round pick. So in the second round right here, you probably want to add another receiver, and I think that's what they will do. If they take a safety in the first, like Kyle Hamilton, I think they'll try to add a receiver in the second round. That could be wide receiver John Mechie, who is on the board. If George Pickens is somehow on the board, I think it could be him as well. Right here, their top rated, ranked players are not receivers. You see Trey McBride could be an option. Nick Cross is another safety option in the second if they don't go here. I mean, there's a lot of different options for them here. Like, I could even see them going, what's his name? Godkey, I know I'm mispronouncing his name, from Central Michigan. Like, he definitely could be a player that they go for, probably going to play guard in this league. That's another possibility for sure. I'm going to go Christian Watson out of North Dakota State because I believe he is the best receiver available, and I think if they take a safety, they're going to take the best receiver available, and I think that'll be Christian Watson for them because apparently they really like Drake London, and I think Drake London is probably going to be gone at 11, so that's why I think they'll take Kyle Hamilton, and a guy that's somewhat similar to Drake London, at least in terms of size, is Christian Watson. 6'4", 208 pounds. At least that's what he was measured in at the combine. This says 6'5". You look at his production, not amazing, but solid. 43 catches, 800 yards, 7 touchdowns. I think in 2020 they didn't play as many games. I'm not completely sure. And he averaged, just look at the average yards per catch right there. 19, 24, 21.5, and 18. That's just absolutely insane. And then he had 7 touchdowns. He also, used in the run game as well. Averaged 12.5 yards per carry in 2019 and 7.6 in 2021 with 2 touchdowns total. And also used as a kick returner. This past year had 11 returns for 227 yards. So, you can be used in a lot of different ways. You look at real quick his draft report. I haven't watched really much film on him, but you look at 6'4", 208 pounds, 32.5-inch arms, 4.36 40-yard dash, basically a 39-inch vertical. Those are elite traits. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the length. Those are the traits you want. He's a bigger body receiver, which, we don't have besides Cam Sims, who's a rotational receiver. So he didn't run the 3-cone, 20-yard shuttle, a 60-yard shuttle, but I would definitely like Christian Watson for sure. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be there in the second round. PFF has him as their 74th ranked player. I think he's going to go late first, and we're probably the latest he could possibly go. You look at some of the strengths and weaknesses. He's got all the traits. He's got the traits you want. Now it's just your job to develop him. Amazing yards per catch. Last year I think it was 18 or something. He's able to really be a big play threat for you every single time. Father played in the NFL. There's some other things you guys can see as well. And, some of the weaknesses, sometimes he's had a lot of drops. So that's something that is definitely an issue, but I think can be corrected. Needs excess steps into the top of the break point. Just reading something right there. Catch focus is below average, but I really like Christian Watson. And if he's there at 47 and we took someone that is not a receiver in the first, I would jump on him in the second. Okay, so now we are in the 4th round for the Washington Commanders, and this spot could go a ton of different directions because the Washington Commanders, they need a lot of depth in certain spots, like O-line. They could use some guard depth. They could use some, tight end depth. They could use some running back depth. You go on the defense, the whole defensive line, you need some depth there. You need some linebackers as well. There's just a lot of different, holes on this team in terms of the depth. There's a few starter holes as well, but there's just holes in a lot of different spots in terms of the depth. So they definitely need to address it. So they could go edge here. They definitely could. They could go guard here. I don't think center. Maybe they could go tight end here. Although I think tight end, they could definitely address it in the draft. But I think it's more of a not a long-term need, but more of a short-term need in case Logan Thomas goes down. And I don't know if like a 4th, 5th round rookie is going to be that short-term solution. Like they should have either signed a veteran earlier, or maybe they'll still go ahead and sign a veteran. So right now it's between, I would say, guard and linebacker, but I don't really see a linebacker here. So that might be the weakness of this draft. And it's just the board isn't falling that way. So if this happens, they're going to have to, draft a linebacker or sign a linebacker after the draft. But I'm going to go ahead and take Marquise Hayes out of Oklahoma. You look at, some of the things right here. The description: one of the best pass protectors along the interior offensive line in this class. Hayes uses his hands exceptionally well and allowed only 35 pressures in 3 years as a college starter. 1 pressure allowed over final 3 games. Didn't allow a sack or hit in his first year as a starter in 2019. So you guys can see that stuff right there. So that's good enough for me. You add a guard on that offensive line. Maybe he can start right away, because guard is a position where it's easier to transition into the NFL, or he can sit behind Wes Schweitzer for a year or so and then come in. But either way, I think it's a solid pick. Okay, so right here we are in the 6th round of the NFL draft. Don't have a 5th round pick because of the Cameron Cheeseman trade from last year. So best player available is Brian Robinson out of Alabama, and I do think running back is a position of need, and he's the best player available. Could also take Michael McFadden, but if this is the board right here, I really do think they would take Brian Robinson. They met with him, so clearly they were at least interested or curious in him. Maybe they could take, let me see, Tyrion Davis Price out of LSU, who they also met with. There's definitely some different players that they could take here. Hassan Haskins as well. But I'm going to go ahead and take Brian Robinson out of Alabama because I think he's the best available running back right here. Another running back I really like is Abram Smith out of Baylor. I mean, he is an absolute beast. He's another big body running back, which I think if Washington drafts a running back, first of all, shouldn't be in the first 3 rounds, first 4 rounds, maybe 4th round is the earliest. But that's the first thing. Second thing, I think it should be a big running back, a guy that can bulldoze over people, because if Gibson goes down, you can have that guy in there, or you can get a guy when Gibson's in as a short yardage guy, kind of a Peyton Barber replacement that can do more than just 3rd and 1 situations. Let's see. Let's look at his stats. In 2021, 271 carries, 1,343 yards, 5 yards a catch, or 5 yards per carry, and 14 touchdowns. Not too much of a receiving back. 35 catches, 296. For average 8.5 yards a catch and 2 touchdowns, which isn't bad. But if you actually watch it, he's not a natural pass catcher, but he definitely can do it if you need him to. But we won't need him to that much because Carson Wentz does not love throwing to running backs. And second off, we have Jarrett Patterson, who catches the passes sometimes. J.D. McKissick, who is a great pass catcher, and Gibson, who also gets some targets as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take running back Brian Robinson. So now in the 7th round, and I think they're going to draft at least 1 linebacker. Maybe they could even draft 2, because the position group is definitely weak for sure. But they haven't drafted, or I haven't drafted one yet, and I think it's definitely time to do so. But the board just, so far really hasn't fallen that way to where we should take a running back or a linebacker. So here though, one of the best players available is a linebacker. First couple are positions that we either don't need or already drafted. So I'm going to take Jack Sanborn out of Wisconsin. You look at kind of his overview right here. 6'2", 34 pounds, is about to turn 22 years old. Let's see if they have any numbers on him. These are kind of where he played. He played 13 games in 2021, 692 defensive snaps, pass rush a ton. Also was a ton in a ton for run plays, coverage snaps. You guys can see everything right here. We look at the stats right here. Again, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really know much about Jack Sanborn, so I'm reading off the numbers right here. 6'2", 236 pounds. We already talked about that. 77 tackles, 5 sacks. So might be more of an outside linebacker, but we need everything we can get in a linebacker room. And if this is the case, we'll probably have to, sign a somewhat big time veteran linebacker, because there's still some guys out there. Alexander Johnson, who I would really love for Washington to sign. Okay, so now on to our last pick of this mock draft, and we still haven't addressed defensive line in this draft, and I think that is a position they will try to address, and definitely could if they're thinking about moving on from Daron Payne. Like if they trade him on draft night, which I don't think is going to happen, but it could, then they'll get another pick and they will really have to draft a guy in the top 4 rounds, and they'll probably still sign a guy like Star Lotulelli or Akeem Hicks. But I'm thinking about taking a defensive lineman here, and I think they might take an edge rusher and an interior guy, but I think interior guy is a more pressing need. Even if Daron Payne, even if we locked him down, I think interior defensive line is more of a need, because we literally have no one behind those guys. So best available is Marquand McHale out of Kentucky. I don't know much about him. The stats aren't too impressive if you look at them, but I guess we're betting on the traits. Played 9 games, didn't get a single sack, had 2 hits, 3 hurries, more of a run stuffer, but they could use some more depth, more of a developmental guy. He's kind of projected to be in that 7th round. Like his ADP is 215, so a lot of people think he's going to go a little bit higher than we're taking him right here. And Washington, has been drafting 7th round kind of edge guys or interior guys. You look at 2020, I think they drafted James Smith-Williams. This past year, William Bradley King and Shaka Toney. So I'll go ahead and take McCall here, and yeah, we'll call it a day. So overall, I feel like I did a pretty good job in addressing Washington's needs, and I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to, if Kyle Hamilton is there and Drake London isn't there, I think they'll take Kyle Hamilton unless someone else fell that they really want to take, like maybe an offensive lineman, even though I don't think they really should. If one of those guys falls, maybe they'll go ahead and take him. I won't be too upset with it if it's Evan Neal or Ike Ekwonu. Won't be ecstatic about it, but won't be upset. But if it's like Charles Cross, really won't be too excited about that. 2nd round, they got a receiver. Again, if they take Kyle Hamilton in the 1st, I think they'll take a receiver in the 2nd. Then you go to the 4th, we add a guard. They need some more guard depth. I think they'll address that this year in the first few rounds. Then we added a running back, a linebacker, and a defensive line. So I think we addressed a lot of the needs. So let me know what you guys think about the mock draft. And yeah, guys, we are 1 day away from the draft. Very, very excited. Videos will be coming out all the time in the next 24 hours in terms of, any rumors we hear, and then any trades that happen, whether it's picks, players, stuff like that involving Washington. And then the draft will come. We'll be live streaming that, of course. I'll give you guys my live reaction to the pick, and then right after that, me and Juan are going to end the stream for a little bit and post our videos. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, guys, and peace.